Hi, I'm Jeff Moran. I want to welcome you to True Texas History. Today I'm going to be talking about the Texas outlaws known as the Newton Brothers. Now, many people have never heard of the Newton Brothers or the Newton Gang. I know one of the nearby towns where I live, San Marcos, there's a place called the Newton Brothers, but for the most part, a lot of people haven't heard about them, even though in the 1920s they were well known throughout Texas. In terms of being outlaws and I guess train robbers, bank robbers, they pulled in more cash than the James Gang, the Dalton, and a bunch of those. In fact, I believe in terms of numbers, they knocked off 80 banks and 6 trains during their career. So they had quite a career, so you've got to wonder, why haven't we heard about the Newton Brothers? Well, the gang was actually for the Newtons. The 2 oldest brothers had, I say oldest brothers, but because there were like 11 kids in the family, and this is, like starting with number 6. But 2 of the brothers that got started in bank robbery, they started stealing things. I mean, the family, it was a farming family, did a lot of cotton farming, but the thing is, rather than wanting to go ahead and pick the cotton, they went ahead and stole the neighbor's cotton. It got them in trouble, and they advanced on to robbing other things later on, and became very, discovered that it became very lucrative. In fact, at one point, 4 of the brothers were each in different jails for different crimes. But after they got out of jail, they decided to go ahead and form their own gang rather than serve with other gangs, and they went on a spree. Now, what was different about the Newton brothers is that they did their work at night. They would spend a couple of days scoping out a bank, and then they would go in and use nitroglycerin and blow the safe. And because of that, they didn't receive the notoriety of Bonnie and Clyde and some of these others, and they managed to escape a lot of the limelight. They also made it a point of, if they're going to hit a bank, to hit banks in small towns where you didn't have as much security and the police force tended to be lax. And so they hit places, Bernie, San Marcos, and various places in Texas. The San Marcos one was interesting. As they were doing it, some of the civilians would come out and they would just tell the people watching, go back inside, go back inside. And the people did. But they ended up stealing quite a bit. In fact, the Newton boys, in their final crime, managed to rob a train outside of Chicago of over $3 million. And, a couple of them got caught. One of them didn't get caught. He was headed down to the border, but he decided, hey, I need to get drunk in San Antonio. So he started drinking, and he didn't want to get caught with all the loot, so he went out and he buried the loot outside of San Antonio, came back in town, got drunk, and eventually got caught. And that the money was never found, supposedly. Some people say it's out there near Fredericksburg Road. Some say off of Bandera. Who knows? I don't. So they're on the record for, the largest train robbery in the U.S. And they also, cleared it, in terms of record-breaking gangs. They ended up robbing, gaining more money than any of these other gangs. And what's surprising, the last of the Newton boys died in the 1970s. They were even though they were outlaws and doing their thing in the 1920s, they were still alive on into the late 60s, early 70s. And they became, they went back to a life of farming, and this time they really farmed rather than stealing all the time. But that's the story of the Newton brothers, some Texas-born outlaws. I know people tend to like outlaw stories, and lately I've been on a kind of an outlaw kick, wanting to let people know. Unfortunately, I've been kind of busy, so I hadn't always been able to do this on a daily basis, but I wanted to at least get the story of the Newton boys out there. Hope you enjoyed it. If there's you got questions about it or other topics you want me to cover, go ahead and list them down below, and I'll be glad to get to them. Because when I was doing researching, Texas outlaws, everything in the news today is referring to Billy Joe Shaver and his passing away, which my condolences to Billy Joe Shaver and to his family. I wish him well. Until next time, this is Jeff Murrow wishing you via con Dios. Goodbye, my friends.